So there is a play that has ties to riots, murders, kings, assassination plots, and oh yeah, that play is also cursed. So the play we are talking about, you probably guessed it already, we're talking about Shakespeare's Macbeth. According to legend, this play has been riddled with tragedy since literally the very first performance. If you talk to any theater fan, any thespian, anybody that works in a theater, they will tell you that you never, never, ever say the name Macbeth in a theater, nor do you quote lines from Macbeth in the theater unless you are in an actual show or a rehearsal. Doing so could literally cost you your life. So first of all, let me just say thank you. You guys have been liking and subscribing and commenting, and I love seeing all of your comments about if you think it's true, if you don't think it's true. I just love it. So keep going, keep subscribing, keep sharing, keep doing all that stuff. Really though, do make sure you're subscribing so you don't miss what we've got coming up next. I have 2 or 3 ideas for our next video. I haven't decided yet, so I'm not going to give that away yet. All right, so let's talk about Macbeth. So if you somehow managed to not read this in high school, or if like me, it's been, 30 years since you read it in high school, the whole plot of Macbeth is this. So Macbeth is a general under King Duncan. Macbeth and his friend Banquo meet the Weird Sisters, or most people just call them the witches. And the witches tell them that he will be promoted twice. The second time he gets promoted, he will be king. So he ends up getting promoted, and then after his first promotion, he thinks, well, surely the prophecy is true, I'm going to be king. And him and his wife, Lady Macbeth, make a plot to kill the current king, Duncan. The king's sons flee. Macbeth and his wife are king and queen, but they slowly descend into madness. Lots of people die, and eventually Macbeth is killed. Duncan's son comes back and becomes king. So I'm not a huge Shakespeare fan. I will say this is probably my favorite of his plays. But I am embarrassed to tell you that I did not know until I started doing research on this that there was so much history involved in this play. So Duncan, Macbeth, and Malcolm were real Scottish kings around 1034. And Shakespeare played with the facts a little bit, but the basic plot is the same. I did not realize that Shakespeare wrote his plays to kind of pander to the royalty at the time. And Macbeth is thought to have been written around 1606 when King James was king. And so you can see this in Macbeth in a lot of cool ways that I did not realize. So King James was Scottish, and supposedly he was a descendant of Banquo, Macbeth's friend. And in the play, the witches tell Banquo that he will not be king, but his descendants will be. So that was kind of a shout out to King James. But Macbeth was written about 3 years after the gunpowder plot, and that's the plot, Guy Fawkes and all that, where they tried to blow up Parliament and kill King James. And the play is all about the assassination of kings and kings being betrayed. So it kind of mirrored King James's life. And then this is where the curse comes in. So I did not realize that King James was the King James that commissioned the revision of the Bible, the King James Version. Like, I should have thought of that, but I didn't realize that they were the same king. I also did not know that King James, who commissioned the revision of the Bible, is also the King James that wrote Demonology. He wrote a whole book about devils and witches and charms and necromancy. And you can actually read that book. It's on Gutenberg. I can put the link in the comments if you want to see it. But it's thought that Shakespeare added the witches to Macbeth just to gain the interest of the king, because the king was interested in that sort of thing. And that is where they think the curse came from. So the legend says that Macbeth modeled the witches and their spells after real witches, and either using the spells themselves was enough to jinx the play, or some people think that the Coven of Witches saw the play and did not like the fact that he used the spells or the partial spells and cursed the play, but it is thought that that play has a curse on it. It's interesting to note, though, that Shakespeare wrote in mostly pentameter and the spells are in tetrameter, which says, you know, did Shakespeare do that on purpose to make them sound different and witchy? Did another author write that part of the play? Or maybe were they really spells and that's why they were written in a different meter than the rest of the play? What evidence do we have that this play is cursed? So according to legend, we don't know for sure, but according to legend, the very, very first actress to even play Lady Macbeth died during the production, and Shakespeare himself had to take over on stage. So in 1672, one of the fake daggers was accidentally, maybe purposely, replaced with a real one, and an actor was killed on stage. In 1849, a riot known as the Astor Place Riot broke out in New York City during a performance of Macbeth. Now, if you read about the riots, it wasn't necessarily about Macbeth itself. It had its roots in social class issues and a rivalry between the actors and things like that. But by the time it was done, it had killed 22 people. In 1937, the Old Vic Theater started a production of Macbeth, and it starred the famous actor Laurence Olivier. This one was riddled with disasters. So a falling stage weight just barely missed Laurence Olivier, and had it hit him, it would have killed him. The director and the actors playing Lady Macbeth were involved in a car crash. The manager of the theater died of a heart attack on the night of the dress rehearsal, and then her portrait fell off the theater wall while they were giving their first performance. And then during that performance, again, we had some real weapons get into the mix. One of them flew out into the audience and actually gave a member of the audience a heart attack. In the 1947 production, Harold Norman was injured on stage during his performance with, you know, some of the stage combat, and he died of his injuries. In 1942, there were 3 deaths in the cast. One of the actors playing Duncan and 2 of the actresses playing the witches died, and the costume and set designer committed suicide. In 1948, Diana Wynard was playing Lady Macbeth, and she decided to play the sleepwalking scene with her eyes closed. On opening night, she walked right off the stage and fell 15 feet down into the orchestra pit. In 1953, Charlton Heston was starring in a production of this in Bermuda, and he was hurt in a motorcycle accident during rehearsals. And then on opening night, Charlton Heston got severe burns on his legs when his pants were accidentally soaked in kerosene. And apparently this curse can go to other productions if Macbeth is said in the theater. So I'm going to read you this story. This is by David Bellwood, who was a manager at the Globe Theater. And this is the story he tells. It says, "I was a dancer on tour in Riverdance, and a school friend of mine had died. To cheer me up, the fiddle player brought me a beautiful, complete works of Shakespeare. We were flicking through it, and another friend said, 'I studied Macbeth at school.' I told her it was bad luck to say Macbeth and joked, 'I should make you go outside, turn around 3 times, and split on the floor.' In that night's show, 2 of the violinist's strings snapped spontaneously. One woman fell off the stage. Another danced straight into a wall and knocked herself unconscious. I told my friend, never say that again." So that's kind of crazy. And then last but not least, it's not really part of the curse, but I did find it interesting that it had ties back to Macbeth. You probably remember the Manson killings, where Sharon Tate was murdered by the Manson family. Well, she was married to Roman Polanski, and the very first movie that he directed after that was, you guessed it, Macbeth. So I don't know if it's cursed, not cursed, but it certainly does have an interesting history. All right, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode. See you next time.